Hello, everyone. So, welcome back to Real Wisdom Artificial Intelligence. Today is Jan 11th, and the dose of Rashmi today is unconscious intelligence tries to measure everything, including the impact of your actions in this world. Wisdom, wisdom, on the other hand, is becoming conscious of the fact that every action you perform has a contribution to some aspect of this world. Through my reflection, as I came up with this dose of Rashmi through my daily practice, it started with one quote that I've come across from Bhagavad Gita. It is the definition of Maya or illusion. So, Bhagavad Gita defines Maya as human beings tend to measure and compare everything. And by this measurement and comparison, we delimit the reality to be whatever we are able to measure and compare. There's the illusion that we create by delimiting this reality, that is Maya. And that you can start observing things. That is very, very true for all of us. The only things which are real for us are things that we can measure and quantify and then start comparing, whether it is comparison against another human being, the comparison against another group of people. That is those are the illusions that we live with. However, reality is much bigger than that. If we can get past our natural left brain inclination of trying to measure and compare everything. So that is the difference between unconscious intelligence and conscious intelligence or wisdom or the Rashmi level intelligence that I have been talking about in this series of the journey from intelligence to consciousness. The other aspect of this, in terms of real wisdom, artificial intelligence, as I reflected on this and as I came up with this dose of Rashmi, this took me back to my experience over the last 4 days. So over the last 4 days, I was at this conference, CommsNet. I'm part of the organizing committee, and this is a premier conference that happens every year in Bangalore. It is Communication Systems and Networks. It's in its 18th year now, or well, now 19th year. We just completed the 18th year, and it is a premier academic conference. And about 3 years back, I had raised my hand to say that we need to bring in more of an entrepreneurial ecosystem. To bridge the gap between academia and industry and drive some really cutting edge ideas, the research turning into some cutting edge innovative startups, bridge the gap between, bring some investors here, bring industry ecosystem partners as well as the regulators, and start creating that ecosystem. So with that intention, we had launched something called Entrepreneur Ignite Summit 3 years back. This year, we added a decarbonization workshop as well under the banner of Seeds. Plus, I raised my hand to volunteer me and my team to be the organizers for CommsNet's K Run Walk one of the mornings. So, me and my team had a lot going on over the last 3, 4 days. We were extremely busy organizing all of these events. So, amazing 3, 4 days being part of this conference, as well as being able to organize EIS and the DCarbX workshop, as well as bring together people for the 5K run walk one of the early mornings. It really was very enriching for all of us. We all came out highly, highly energized, even though we were extremely busy and intense over the last 4 days. So that is without focusing on the impact in terms of number of people who attended our sessions and things like that. If you ask any one of us from the perspective, okay, what do you feel about the quality of conversations that we had and the quality of the event that we put together, and how did it make all of us feel? We all walked out extremely joyous, happy, and very, very excited about what these 4 days did in terms of the evolution of Seeds and where we can take it going forward. So that is real wisdom in action and conscious intelligence in action, that we focused on what really unlocked the inherent joy that we all have. Now, if you think of the way we would define success, if this was purely, if I, let's say, engaged my artificial intelligence co-pilots to go ahead and tell me if these events were successful or not, or if I go by the popular definition of how success is measured for anything in the social media age, it is all about the number of likes, engagements on social media post. And similarly, for in-person event like these workshops, it would be, okay, did you fill up the room completely? How many people were there? And things like that. How many comments did you get? All of those are the metrics that we chase to define if a particular post event was successful or not. And from that perspective, given that this is in nascent stages and we are in a way tucked away in an predominantly academic conference, and what we are trying to do, we all feel extremely passionate about. However, not everybody has necessarily has yet woken up to the idea that the future of great innovation is building this ecosystem together. And especially when we talk about purpose driven, impact driven innovation or impact led innovation. And we are not necessarily talking about innovation where how we can help any of these students turn their research topics into unicorns. That's not the focus of the workshop. The focus of the workshop is really help them take the research ideas and turn them into impact driven, innovative startups, and how we can bring in the like minded ecosystem partners to engage in those type of conversations. So from that perspective, and we have deliberately picked that niche because that is what we all are extremely passionate about, and we believe that is the future, how we are going to build the conscious age together. So, given all of that, purely in terms of the metrics, so one would say whether it was the entrepreneur summit, whether the decarbonization workshop, or even the 5K runs walk in one of the early mornings, it was disappointing. However, we chose not to focus on that because we are all aligned on the larger purpose of what we are trying to do. When we really approach it from that perspective, quality of the speakers that we had brought about and the conversations that we were able to have with each of them, even if even though they may not have been in front of tightly packed auditoriums, they were extremely rewarding, extremely enriching, and some of those conversations are going to lead to some amazing amounts of direction forward for where we take seeds going forward. So from that perspective, the quote quality over quantity pretty much sums it up. And that is what is the difference between being led by real wisdom or conscious intelligence versus being followers to your mind, where your unconscious intelligence is purely trying to chase, am I successful based on some numbers, and it's all about quantities, which is how the social media has turned out. So hope that resonates. Thank you.